I had 3 seconds to decide between obeying the order or breaking all the rules that had kept me alive for 19 years. The heat was penetrating my helmet, the radio was shouting for me to get out, and my team was already backing away. But what I saw in that window shouldn't exist, and what happened next, no one has been able to explain to this day. My name is Victor Azevedo Martins. I am 42 years old and have been a firefighter for nearly 2 decades. That night, I was the commander of the operation, old church, advanced fire, imminent collapse. The numbers were clear: internal temperature of 800 degrees, compromised structure, 0 chance of survivors. When I ordered the evacuation, I wasn't being cowardly. I was being realistic. But then I saw her, a figure standing still in the inner window where no one could be alive. I blinked. She was still there. My heart raced. I, frightened, alerted over the radio, and the response came dry, irritated. "Victor, this is impossible. No human survives this. Get out of that church now." They were right. All my training confirmed I really had to leave, but something in me wouldn't move. And here's the detail that changed everything. I have always been skeptical. I grew up learning that faith in symbols and images confuses more than it helps. To me, miracles were misinterpreted coincidences. What saved lives was science, protocol, response time, nothing more. So when I saw that figure, my first reaction wasn't spiritual, it was technical. Light reflection, smoke, exhaustion. The brain creates illusions under extreme stress. I knew that. The problem was that the more I tried to rationalize what I had seen, the less convinced I became. It wasn't fear of the fire. It was a deep discomfort, as if my certainties were silently cracking. The experts arrived. They confirmed the diagnosis. There are no survivors. The structure will collapse in minutes. Logic closed all the doors. But inside me, another kind of fire was starting, one that no hose would extinguish. While the whole team moved away, I remained standing at the side entrance, watching the flames consume the entire building, worried that there really might not be anyone else alive inside the church. Time was running out, and if there was someone alive in there, it was time to go in because every second increased the risk of the entire structure collapsing. The decision had to be made now. It was in that tight interval that I realized something. The pain and discomfort I felt didn't push me to enter the burning church. It kept me from leaving without certainty, and that difference would change absolutely everything. Before I continue, do something for me. Write in the comments where you are watching this from. I need to know how far this story is reaching, and if something heavy has been weighing on your heart lately, write that too. You will understand why. Now let me tell you what happened when I made the decision to cross that door again and enter that church, engulfed in flames. As soon as I crossed the entrance, the sound of the world disappeared. It wasn't total silence. The fire was still roaring, beams were falling, but something in the acoustics changed. It was as if I had entered another dimension within the fire. I advanced down the central aisle, shielding my face, feeling the heat piercing the equipment. The altar was burning ahead. It was impossible to ignore. That's when I felt something that shouldn't exist there. A perfume, delicate, completely out of place. It wasn't smoke, it wasn't burnt wood. It was the scent of fresh roses. My brain froze. I tried to dismiss it as a hallucination. Under extreme stress, the body creates false sensations. I was familiar with the studies, but the perfume didn't disappear. On the contrary, it became clearer with each step I took. And then the light came. It didn't come from the fire. It was blue and white, soft, constant. It cut through the smoke without mixing with it. It didn't flicker like the flames. It simply indicated a path. I stopped. My training screamed, "Get out now!" My logic shouted, "This isn't real." But my feet followed the light. As I advanced, something even stranger happened. As I bent down to dodge a burning beam, my hand touched the ground. Amid rubble and ashes, I felt a metallic object. I picked it up without thinking. It was a medal. Small, warm, but intact. I tucked it into my pocket without understanding why. The light led me to a side area near what was left of the altar. There, under debris that no ordinary person could lift, I found the priest, unconscious, clear signs of asphyxiation, but his chest was rising and falling. He was alive. My brain short-circuited. By the calculations, by the time elapsed, by the temperature recorded, he couldn't be breathing. It was physically impossible, but there he was, alive. Against all the laws of thermodynamics, there was no time to question. I dragged him through the rubble, protected his head, and headed toward the exit. The path the light had shown me remained accessible. The flames seemed to pull away. They weren't extinguishing, they just gave space. I exited through the side window with the help of the team. When the paramedics examined the priest, I heard one of them quietly say to the other, "He shouldn't be alive." The fire investigator who analyzed the scene later was direct. Given the thermal conditions of the location where he was found, it shouldn't be possible. But he was there, breathing, alive. And then the questions began that no one has been able to answer. What happened in the following days almost made me doubt my own sanity. But before I tell you that, you need to know what that medal revealed. 3 days after the rescue, I received a call. It was the priest, recovering, strong voice, asking to meet. I accepted, still processing what had happened. When I arrived at the hospital, he was sitting on the bed, holding something in his hands. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't decipher. It wasn't gratitude. It was recognition. "You found this inside, didn't you?" He extended his hand. It was a medal identical to the one I had kept in my pocket. My blood ran cold. I put my hand in my pocket. The medal was still there. I took it out and placed it in the palm of my hand next to his. They were the same. Exactly the same. "How do you know I found this?" I asked, feeling my voice falter. He took a deep breath. "Because I lost it 15 years ago, in the same place where you found me, on the day that image of the Virgin Mary was placed on that altar." Wait, is he saying that the medal has been there for 15 years? Impossible. The fire consumed everything. Wood, fabric, melted metal. How could a small medal survive intact at the epicenter of the fire? "It didn't survive the fire, Victor," he said, as if reading my thoughts. "It was placed in your hand." I felt the room spin. No, that didn't make sense. I was a man of science, of protocol, of evidence. Coincidences exist. Objects can be preserved in extreme conditions by pockets of air, by specific positions. I knew the cases. But the way he spoke, the certainty in his eyes, the fact that that medal was exactly where my hand touched the ground. "Did you smell the perfume?" he asked. My heart raced. "How do you know about the perfume?" "Roses?" I nodded, unable to speak. "And the blue and white light?" I stopped breathing. No one knew about the light. I hadn't told anyone. Not even in the official report. How did he know? "Because I saw it too," he said calmly. "When I woke up under the rubble before you found me, it was by my side. The same light, the same perfume, and a presence I couldn't see but could feel clearly. It didn't let me completely lose consciousness. It kept me aware enough to breathe slowly, to preserve the little oxygen that was left. And then it guided you to me." I fell silent. My mind fought against every word. But something inside me knew there was no logical explanation. Knew that night something beyond science had operated. "Who?" was all I could ask. He smiled and told me something I never imagined I would hear. "The image that was on the altar," he said slowly, "was of the Virgin Mary. It was donated to the church 15 years ago by a family that lost a child in a fire. They believed she had comforted them in their pain. I never paid much attention to those stories. Until that night." He paused. His eyes became distant, as if reliving something. "When the fire started, I was alone finishing the Mass. I tried to leave, but the wake closed too quickly. I went to the altar, trying to find another exit. That's when everything collapsed around me. I knew I was going to die. I accepted it. I closed my eyes and waited." His voice trembled. "But then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I opened my eyes. There was no one there. But the weight was there, real, firm. And that perfume enveloped everything. The smoke continued. The heat continued. But something was protecting me. I can't explain it any other way." I wanted to interrupt. I wanted to say it was hallucinations caused by lack of oxygen. I wanted to apply logic, but my voice wouldn't come out. It guided you to me, Victor. You didn't find me by chance. You were led. I got up from the chair. No, that doesn't... I followed the light because it was the only visual reference in the smoke. The perfume was some chemical released by the fire. The metal was there by chance, and I was lucky to find it. Coincidences happen. Then explain, he said with unsettling calm, how you passed through a beam that fell 30 seconds after you crossed. How you avoided a collapse that experts confirmed was unpredictable. How you found me in a place that wasn't on your original route in. I was speechless. He continued, 6 men from your team reviewed the thermal images afterward. The path you took shouldn't exist. The flames were blocking that passage, but when you entered, they opened and closed right after you left with me. Stop, I said, my voice coming out harsher than intended. I didn't come here to hear a sermon. I know. He raised his hands in surrender. You came because you need answers, and I only have one. That night, something greater than the two of us acted. You can call it luck, instinct, science we don't yet understand. But deep down, Victor, you know what it was. I left that room with more questions than answers. I went home, tried to sleep, tried to forget. But the metal was on my desk, and every time I looked at it, something inside me changed. Until, 2 weeks later, something happened that took away any remaining doubt. 2 weeks later, I was called to another fire. Residential building, 5th floor. Child trapped. The team was in position, but the ladder didn't reach. The apartment was engulfed in flames. Estimated time, 2 minutes before total collapse. Impossible to enter. I looked up. I saw the window. I saw the smoke. And felt something familiar. It wasn't the perfume this time. It wasn't the light. It was an inexplicable certainty. I knew there was a way. I couldn't see it, but I knew it existed. I grabbed the equipment, ignored the protests, and climbed up the side of the building using a support cable that technically shouldn't support my weight. It held. I entered through the adjacent apartment, crossed a hallway that was almost intact when it should have been in flames, and found the child in a bathroom, conscious, scared, alive. When we got out, the apartment collapsed. The team was silent. The lieutenant asked me, "How did you know you could get through there?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. I just trusted. That night, alone at home, I picked up the metal. I looked at it for a long time, and finally allowed the armor to fall. I didn't lose my reason. I didn't abandon science. I didn't become someone else. But I lost the arrogance of thinking I understood everything. Today, 19 years after that night in the church, I'm still a firefighter. I continue to trust protocols, calculations, and training, but I've learned to respect what I can't explain. The metal accompanies me on every call, not as a talisman, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes we are guided by something greater than our understanding. I didn't come here to convince you of anything. I didn't come to convert anyone. I just came to share what I lived, what I felt, what changed in me. If you're going through a fire right now, not literal but real, know that you're not alone. Even when logic says there's no way out, even when everyone around you tells you to back off, trust. Sometimes the answer comes from where you least expect it. That night I entered a church as a skeptic and came out different. Not because I saw a miracle, but because I allowed something beyond myself to reach me when I needed it most. And if there's something weighing on your heart right now, write it down below. Because maybe, just like me that night, you also just need to take the first step. The rest you'll discover along the way. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and turn on notifications. And don't miss the next beautiful testimony that's appearing on your screen now. Click and watch.